The Commonwealth. A region in Fallout's wasteland steeped in radiation. Boston, a city that is steeped in the history of America. Every time you turn a corner, there's some kind of monument. But how similar is it to Fallout 4's Commonwealth? In this video, I am going to all these different monuments in the real-world Boston and comparing it to Fallout 4's Wasteland. But before the mysterious stranger appears, please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps so very much. Thank you. What better place to start than Vault 111 itself? Whitney Park in Watertown is the closest thing to a Vault 111 site. It even has houses and trails that look similar to when the neighborhood is evacuating. There's obviously no vault in real life, but I did find this wood fort. Let's call it Vault 111 because I also found a video done by a channel called Pre-War Hub approximating its location based on calculations of where the bomb drops and how long the blast takes to reach you. They estimated the size of the Commonwealth to be about 1/3 of the size of real-life Boston. One of the more surprisingly impactful stops along this for me was the Minuteman statue. Placed in Lexington, Massachusetts, where Paul Revere rode to on his midnight ride, this was the location of the first battle of the Revolutionary War on April 19, 1775. This is also basically where you're spit out after exiting Vault 111 and going toward the Red Rocket gas station. It was eerie and surreal being here, and the game shares this statue, but it's not a big elaborate moment. The Great Green Jewel. Faneuil Park is the obvious location of Diamond City. And that makes a lot of sense. Even in the Fallout timeline, Boston was a baseball city. Home of the swatting Sultans, the day the bomb dropped would have been Game 7 of the World Series. And if they won, they would have obtained the first World Series win for Boston since 1918. It turned into a mecca for anyone and everyone. There is a form of classism though. Lower field residents as laborers, craftsmen, farmers, and other workers, and upper stands residents as caravan owners, merchants, and other individuals who own most of the wealth. You can still see the green monster, which can apparently withstand atomic blasts, the Citgo sign, and the lone red seat where Ted Williams hit the furthest ball in Fenway Park history in 1946, 502 feet from home plate. Located on a stretch of the southern bank of the Charles River on the Esplanade, the Charles View Amphitheater in Fallout 4 is based on the Hatch Memorial Shell. There's no cults here in the real world that I know of, but it is a mainstay in terms of Boston entertainment venues. MIT, or C.I.T, is the location of the Institute. Even pre-war, the building served as a place for higher education and technological advancements. This mirrors the real world pretty well and even plays into the larger story of Fallout 4. I wasn't able to go in, but the game does a real great job of capturing this layout. What is fascinating about MIT in the real world, though, is that there is an actual tunnel system underneath it, not unlike the Institute's futuristic breath of fresh air in the wasteland. In the game and real life, Boston Public Library is the main public library in Boston and the United States' second largest library, home to a vast amount of books and historical records. After the Great War, Curator Gibbons led a crew to the library to retrieve and preserve any surviving information, but decades of neglect, water damage, looting, and vandalism had ruined most of the books. The relentless super mutant attacks eventually killed the team, and now it's basically just overrun by super mutants and leftover robots. Right across the street from the statue outside is the beautiful Trinity Church. Not much to say about this massive church founded in 1733 in terms of Fallout lore, but it's pretty much just as grand in real life as it is in the game. Park Street Station was one of the places bought up by corporations within the game. Vault-Tec thought it would make a great pre-excavated site for a vault, one that would never be finished before the Great War began though. Vault 114 would house Boston's upper class, including its business and government elites, but in secret, it was an experiment to test said affluent residents' reactions to a vault with cramped communal spaces and none of the amenities that might be expected by the upper class. Boston Commons has been called the oldest public park in all of the United States. While very lovely in Boston, the Commonwealth version is quite a bit different. First, it's way smaller than the real-life Commons, but at least there's super mutants wearing the swan boats as armor. After the Great War, the Commons was left to kinda decay, and it became a place to avoid. That is, until Edgar Swan ended up taking up residence in the groundkeeper's shack near the Swan Pond. They do get the main locations though, places like the Pond, Parkman Bandstand, and the first stop of the Freedom Trail.
Welcome, Patriot, to Boston Common, the start of the Freedom Trail.
The Freedom Trail, by the way, is a 2.5-mile length of brick that guides you to various monuments and historical locations around Boston. Fallout 4 took this trail and turned it into an important mission, one that, if you follow it, gives you the password to the railroad's secret hideout. The Mass State House is our second stop along the Freedom Trail. The new State House was completed in 1798 to house the state government, replacing the old State House in this role until the formation of the 13 Commonwealths in 1969. However, the building continued to house some members of Massachusetts government until 2077, including Lieutenant Governor Graham and Treasurer Robert Yemlin. Faneuil Hall is the site where Bostonians first protested the Sugar Act and the Stamp Act. Meetings held here culminated in the Boston Tea Party, and founding fathers such as Samuel Adams even gave speeches here. Eventually, it turned into a bustling market and commercial area. In the game, meetings were still held here, notably to install protectrons to keep thieves at bay. Eventually, they were installed, and within the week, they killed multiple thieves as well as a few bystanders. Meetings were canceled from then on to deter media scrutiny. Following the Great War, the building still stands, but super mutants have created an encampment. They tore the place apart and burned most of the meeting hall chairs in two bonfires, one in the center of the hall and the other around the remains of Samuel Adams' statue. Right after Faneuil Hall and Quincy Market on Waterfront, you'll look over and see what was once the tallest skyscraper in Boston, the Custom House Tower. The Custom House Tower was used by the federal government after being built on reclaimed shoreline. Recently, the building was redecorated by super mutants. The inside didn't have many body parts hanging from the ceiling, but it smelled kind of funky in there. Although an unmarked location in Fallout, the house of Paul Revere is still standing. Barely. Still pretty impressive considering it's the oldest house in all of Boston.
It's Paul Revere. Right there.
Not much going on out here, but there is a super mutant and his hounds in the courtyard outside. As we continue to follow the trail through the north end, you'll come across the Paul Revere Monument right by the Old North Church. It's a really pretty view to see in real life, and this one's pretty accurate in size actually. Old North Church is nestled right in the north end. It was the site where the famous phrase, 1 if by land, 2 if by sea came to be because of a signal this 174-foot tall steeple shone. It was the first alert that the British were coming, and the battles of Lexington and Concord that followed were the first of the American Revolutionary War. There's a large, sprawling crypt underneath this church that houses about 1,100 bodies, and in Fallout 4, this is where the railroad has chosen to plant their HQ. This obelisk is a monument to the Battle of Bunker Hill, one of the very early battles of the Revolutionary War. A battle the Americans actually lost, but it boosted morale because of the significant amount of casualties on the British. It basically demonstrated they could stand up to one of the world's most powerful armies. The Commonwealth's version of Bunker Hill is essentially a battleground for mercenaries, traders, and settlers. You can complete quests for different factions vying for control of this area. An interesting reflection to the real world, but as with a lot of these locations, the monument has been compressed and scaled down for gameplay purposes. The real Bunker Hill is absolutely huge. And there you have it. From the towering skyline of real-world Boston to the war-torn streets of Fallout 4's rendition, we've explored the similarities and differences between these two fascinating worlds. If you enjoyed this journey through Boston's past and future, don't forget to leave a like, hit subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support means a lot to me, and it helps me keep creating content like this. So until next time, Wanderers of the Wasteland, stay curious, stay adventurous, and I'll see you for the next video. Peace.